Record. Let's go. Recording in progress. That's what we want to hear. Welcome and good afternoon, everybody. You are in the right place at the right time. So many more people are joining us. We're almost at 100 people joining us today. Many people are interested to know, how do they get their ECD Centre registered? Perhaps you are thinking of opening a centre. Perhaps you already run a centre. Perhaps your registration has lapsed. Today, we are going to share a lot of great information and support tools to help you on your road to registration. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We'd love to know where you're from. We have people from all over the country joining us. And please note that this session will be recorded. If you have load shedding, if you have a baby crying, if you have no more data, don't worry. We will record this session and we will share it with everybody via email, as well as all the notes. Whatever we're presenting today, we will share with you. So please, please know that we will do that. Today, I'm joined by two special colleagues, Ernest Siselo and Demetria Madziwa. Demetria has been working as a business mentor with ECD Centres for 5 years, Ernest for 3 years. Between them, they know the hustle of getting your centre registered. They have seen many centres try to get registered and supported them on the road to getting registered. So I'm very happy they're joining us. Demetria is from our KZN branch and Ernest is from the Western Cape. So before we, let me just share my screen so that we can get started. Demetria, I'd like you to tell us today, before we get into all of the details, like I said, this webinar is for you if you are considering opening an ECD Centre, if you are already operating a centre, perhaps your centre is not registered yet and you're wondering what to do next. Perhaps you need to re-register because your registration has lapsed. Perhaps you are giving advice or mentorship to other ECD Centre owners. This webinar is for you. We'll share a lot of information today. We're going to make sure it's very productive and jam-packed. We won't waste any time. Very briefly, Demetria will tell us who is Grow. We'll go straight into our free registration support tools. And there are 3 that we want to share with you today. And while we have our mentors on the line, we're going to talk about some of the top questions we get. Who needs to get registered? Why should I get registered? What exactly are the types of registration? And what are the 7 steps to getting registered? All right. So Demetria, I'd love you to start us off with just very briefly, who is Grow? How do we work with ECD Centres and how do we support them?
Yes, thanks, Helene, and good afternoon, everyone. Grow is a nonprofit organization with a very clear reason for being. We want to empower the people that are educating our children, the next generation. And we understand that early learning is a very crucial part of a child's life because this is where the foundation is laid. And that is why we specifically work with ECD owners, teachers, as well as organizations. We equip and connect ECD businesses with the skills, the support, as well as the resources they need in order to provide 5-star learning to every child. And we have offices in Cape Town, in KZN, as well as in Johannesburg. And we work across the country with ECD centers and organizations who have a heart for the children and a head for business. And perhaps to help us shed more light on what we offer, let's have a look at our products and services. So firstly, we offer technology, free technology. And here that entails the ECD management app, online tools, access to resources, as well as online training. Okay. And then secondly, we offer a quality education program. Now, this program is jam-packed because there is the Grow curriculum, and then we have a comprehensive classroom kit with education mentoring and in-person training. And lastly, we offer the ECD finance. This is a low and affordable loan financing exclusively for the ECD owners so that they can invest in the quality education. And we also offer business mentoring here. And Helene, if I can just slightly elaborate on this business mentoring. You see, this includes us actually sitting with your finances, doing or conducting a brief business diagnostics, determining, for example, your break-even fee. We also make recommendations on on ways you can possibly streamline on your expenses so that you can maximize on your profits. And you find that all these elements are very crucial and worth considering when one is running a sustainable center.
Absolutely. I loved when you mentioned having a heart for children and a head for business, because that really sounds to me like a win-win situation for running a great and a sustainable ECD center, which is what we want. We want quality to be sustained. So today we're not going to focus on all of this. We really are going to focus on how our free tools and our free downloadable resources can help you on your road to ECD registration. I hope you can't hear that, but I have a blaring alarm in the background. I want to come to you, Ernest. You have a lot of experience working with ECD centers across the Cape Town region. I'm sure you've seen your fair share of centers trying to get registered. It sounds to me like one of the big challenges is complexity. I've been reading a lot of articles on what center owners experience when it comes to registration, and it's something about the complexity of it. But just tell me in plain, simple language, why are center owners struggling to get registered?
Thank you, Eliane. One of our findings is that many principals struggle to access the right information regarding registration. And registration involves various government departments, and the information you need may not be on one place most of the times. So this is frustrating for center owners. You have to know where to look. And also the other factor is that many center owners don't understand the process and the requirements. I see them starting with the wrong steps and not understanding the right order of the steps to take. This makes them waste a lot of time, and then it builds frustrations along the way. When you submit for a registration file, you need to have a lot of supporting documents in place, such as your business plan, policies, procedures, and forms. I see center owners Googling forms and then using templates at times from America, and then those templates are incomplete. It takes very long time to create those documents from scratch, and then they would save a lot of time if they use good quality South African templates so that they personalize for their own centers. I also see that center owners sometimes don't know which government departments to approach. So who are responsible for which section of their registration. For example, you have to work with DSD for your NPL. And then you have to submit your registration for your partial care through DBE. And also, finally, if you look at this journey, it becomes very costly. And then there is a real cost involved because they must meet the minimum norms and standards. You have centers that take years to register because they have to save up money to build fire doors, architectural drawings of the building plans. So it's quite a draining process if you don't know the house.
Absolutely. I think that this really makes me understand why we need to support center owners on their journey. We need to lighten the load. We need to make things simple and clear for them so that they can meet those norms, the standards and the requirements. I've never met a center owner who did not want to get registered. So I feel like what we're doing today is very important. Now, let me introduce you to the tools that we are sharing today. We're launching these tools today. We'd love for you to try them out and give us feedback on how it helps you. The first tool is a registration guide. This is a 60-page step-by-step guide to getting your center registered. We've done our research. We looked at all the supporting documents and guidelines for registration requirements, from the Children's Act to the Vangasali guidelines, ELRU resources, Ilifa la Bantwana, the Nelson Mandela Foundation content, the UNICEF content, many more. Our goal was to create one document that summarizes all of the requirements and links you to all the resources and reference materials that you might need. Okay, I'm going to show you more details about that soon. The next tool that we created is downloadable resources, amazing editable policies, procedures, and forms. So for example, if to get registered, you need a business plan, we have a business plan template for you. If you need the health policy, we've created a health policy template for you that you can edit for your center. And finally, I think this is one of my favorite tools. It is a self-assessment checklist. Imagine you go on your phone and you can see and test yourself and your center against every single question that the government department will ask you. And you can know in advance, are you yes or are you no for this question? Have you complied with this requirement? I'm going to tell you more about each of these. Let's start with the guide. It is a really lovely guide. I think I will ask Demetria to tell us more about this. And as she talks, I'm going to take us to a flip book where I can flip through it so you can really see the guide in action. Demetria, tell us more about this guide.
Thanks, Elaine. Well, the name of the guide actually is a practical, available for free download on the Grow Giraffe app. On the app, we have also included quite a lot of resources there that you can access. And all you need to do is just download it on your app, just flip through it, or you can choose to print it. Okay, and on the first page, we've given instructions on how you can actually access those free downloads, as well as the URLs to the downloads. And remember, you have to be registered on the Grow Giraffe app as an ECD owner for you to be able to access these free downloads. Okay, and then maybe to have a look at the content or the topics that we've covered in this guide. Let's look at that. So we looked at questions like, who needs to get registered? Why do you need to get registered? What are the types of registrations? And I know a lot of people get confused here because they don't really know how many registrations do they need to have. And partial care facility registration, we've also tackled that one. And we've looked at ECD program norms and standards. And then we've also discussed the 7 steps of registration. And then we also talked a little bit about the frequently asked questions as well as the references. And you'll also notice that in the guide, there are hyperlinks to all of the resources. And all you have to do is just tap and get into the Grow account and be able to access the resources that you want.
Let me just stop you right there. I want to make sure, can you see the guide on your screen now? Ernest, can you see it?
Yes.
I can see it.
Great. Okay, good. I want to show you an example. For example, in this section here, the drawing up of action plans, it talks about having your emergency contact numbers visible. And when I click on it, it takes me to the login page. I log in with my Giraffe app username and password. And you can see here is the emergency number download. I can download it immediately to my phone or my laptop. I can view it and I can edit it. It is a Word document. I just want to show you really that this is a very practical tool that I can then complete for my center. Okay. So let me just come back to my presentation. This guide is really jam-packed. I cannot tell you how much I have learned about the registration process reading this guide. I just want to check if there is any other comments in here. Okay, nothing yet specifically that I want to answer. So again, for those who missed it, this guide has, these are all the contents that you can find in the guide. You can print it out, or if you're like me and you're going paperless, just keep it on your phone. So here is again a reminder of where to find it before you wonder, where can I get this? Go into your app, go to My Tools, the Resources section. In the Resource Center, you will see a category called Registering Your Center. In there, you have the practical guide and all the other resources we mentioned today. You can just download it there. All right, Ernest. Tell me about these downloadable resources. What is it all about?
I see, Helen, a lot of principals struggling with their supporting documents. Then when they hear sometimes things like words like my business plan, or you need to create policies and procedures, they freeze, and the majority of them are ready to be on the flight mode. And I think this is a very big task, thinking that this is a very big task that they cannot do on their own. But basically, what we then did on the app is that we've created editable templates for Word. All policies and procedures are there, and forms and templates that they would need to use for the registration process. So what we did is that it is available for downloads on Giraffe app. Go to the My Tools section, and then the resources, and then they scroll to register your center category. Then all these supporting, they will find them there.
Yes, and when Ernest says all of it, he means all of it. These are the 56 downloadable resources just in the registering your ECD category. There's many other categories too, from a job description for your principal, a contract, a financial policy, transport policy, really so many great tools. I see in the chat someone is asking a question. She can't see this app on her iPhone Play or her iPhone store. So the app is currently only available on Android smartphones and Android tablets. Unfortunately, it's not available on iPhone yet. Okay, so you need an Android smartphone or an Android tablet to use this app. Thanks, Ernest. That is very comprehensive. For the next section, I think it's really important that we just have a little bit of context. Ernest, I want you to do this for us again. We just want to briefly understand when people say bronze, silver, and gold registration, what does that mean?
In 2021, the Department of Social Development, which is DSD, launched a new assessment model called Vangasali, which includes bronze, silver, and gold framework. The good news is that the registration model takes a more developmental approach to register. It recognizes that meeting all these standards and norms can be difficult, costly, and that it can take a long time to get approvals from various government departments. As we said before, that the registration process is very complex. It's in different government departments. This new model makes provision for all centers to get conditional registration if they meet the minimum standard. That is defined as bronze or silver, and then progress to full registration as they meet the gold standard. The
Okay.
Center owners, yes. Centers that are given conditional registration, it's bronze or silver. Then understands the gaps they need to fill, because once they go through that registration, then the gaps are being identified, and they also understand what are those gaps. And there might be also benefit in funding to close those gaps that are being identified. Then they can be able to reach the goal, which is the full registration. So I think that sums it up again.
Awesome. I think that's very helpful because it gives you context for what we are discussing next, which is the self-assessment checklist. So the great thing about bronze, silver, and gold as a registration model is that the checklist for partial care registration and ECD program registration has been made available to everyone to see exactly what the criteria are. So it's a very useful tool. What we've done is we've built all the questions into the app. So the center owner we work with, the center owners that we work with, we see that they're enjoying this tool because you can go through all of the questions step by step and see exactly what you would score. And you can assess, do you meet the minimum standards for bronze, for silver, and for gold registration, whether it's in partial care registration or in ECD program registration. So let me just show you how this works. In the app, you go to My School. There's a section called Registration Assessment Checklist. Then you decide which one do you want to assess first, partial care or ECD program. In this case, ECD program, you choose bronze, silver, or gold, and you will see all the categories under which the questions are. In fact, let me show you, I recorded this just yesterday. Here I'm on my app, I'm going to registration. I'm selecting partial care facility and bronze. For partial care, there are 15 categories of questions. All of the categories are here. I select the one around proper care for children who become ill. And then you can see, I can see the question. I select yes or no or not applicable. And all my results get saved on my app. I can go into the report and see on the report, where am I still no? Where am I not complying yet? And that gives me a great short list of what I want to do to fill those gaps. I just want to check if there is a question. I saw a question. Oh, Tembisile, oh, thank you, Grow team. I was really struggling with complying with all these policies, but after I joined Grow ECD Centres, everything becomes easy. I can download all the resources on the app. My heart is so happy to hear this. You must let us know if there's any other policies or procedures that you need. Makhadi, you have a great question. What is the difference between partial care and ECD program registration? I'm going to tell you in a few minutes. Okay, so stay on the line. Let me come back here. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, in the guide, when you download the guide, there are screenshots to show you exactly where to go. There's step-by-step guides, it's bullets, there's photos. If you've missed what we said now, don't worry, everything is in the guide. While we have Ernest and Demetria here, I think it's important that we get some value from them and go into some of the top questions that people have to ask. So the second part of this webinar is really about those questions. I want Demetria to start us off with who actually needs to get registered.
Thanks, Helene. The Children's Act clearly stipulates who needs to get registered. But first and foremost, we need to understand that there is actually two types of registrations. The one being the ECD program registration and the other being the partial care facility registration. So we'll discuss the ECD program registration first. So if anyone who provides early learning services to children from birth to school-going age actually must apply for the ECD program registration. So you find this would apply to your play groups, your toy libraries, your mobile ECDs, as well as ECD centers. And we must understand that the ECD program registration was put in place to ensure that children are getting the age-appropriate stimulation and development in preparation for school. On the other hand, we have the partial care registration. So if you tick yes to any of the following criteria, then you must apply for partial care registration. So if there is children from the age group 0 to 9 years, then you must apply. And if there is more than 6 children, and also if they are attending for more than 16 hours a week, then you must apply for partial care registration.
And that's if you select yes for all of these
Yes.
questions.
Yes, to each. Yes, that is true. And I also find people, Helene, here, people get confused because then they think, well, my business is a private business, so I don't actually need to register. But in actual fact, the law requires you to register, because remember, the norms and standards set there are to ensure, for example, with the partial care, that the children are in a safe place and they're able to learn in a conducive environment.
Absolutely. Before you continue, I have a few people asking about the sound quality. We'll sit a little bit closer. We'll speak a little bit clearer. I hope that you can hear us. We are recording this session, and we will also share all of the notes, all of these slides. If you registered for this Zoom webinar, then we have your email address and you will receive it by tomorrow, 4 p.m. via email. Demetria, you did a great job there. I want to know.
Thank you.
Why? Why must we get registered?
Yes, why? Well, Helene, registration is actually required by law, and because it is the right thing to do. You know, the norms and standards are there to ensure the safety and the development of the children. But maybe to shed more light on the why you need to get registered, let's have a look at the risks and benefits of not registering. So you find that when you're not registered, you run the risk of the government actually closing down your school, and that is not good. Also, you find that if an incident occurs at your center, you could be held personally liable and be guilty of an offense. We often find that ECD centers that are not registered are you're sometimes subjected to bad publicity. So if your center is in the news, or also the neighbors and your community at large can intimidate you to close, simply because they do not have confidence in you, because they know you're not registered, you're not following the norms and the standards required. And then in the same breath, we can have a look at the benefits. Why is it important? Why should I register? Well, when you think of the benefits, when you are registered, the government is aware of your services. In other words, they can communicate all the new regulations. You're literally kept abreast of all of the new changes in the ECD space. And that is what you want for your business. At the same time, when you are registered, you can have a peace of mind, because now you know you're following all the norms and standards, and the children are getting the right appropriate care. As a registered center, you are eligible for government funding, provided you're also registered as an NPO. You also find that you have access to funding or financing from institutions such as the banks, the lottery, for example, other organizations. And the parents in your community rally behind you. You know, they are confident to refer your school to their peers, because they know you are registered. They know their children are safe, and they know that you're following the norms and standards required. So clearly the benefits outweigh the risks, and I would strongly recommend for everyone to get registered.
And now that we have the bronze, silver, and gold registration, partial registration, I think it's becoming more accessible and possible for more centers to strive for registration. It really is the right thing to do. So there are lots of questions about the types of registration. Is partial care better than ECD program? Must I do both? How does this work? So we're going to look at the types of registration. I think, Demetria, you're going to talk us through this as well. When people told me, when I started in ECD, they say you must get registered, I thought there was one registration. I did not realize there are 4 things to consider when people say registration. Talk to us about the 4 different types very briefly. So remember, when Demetria explains this to us, the guide, the downloadable guide, is the place where you're going to find all of the details around what she's explaining. Today, we only have 1 hour. We can't go through everything with you in 1 hour. In the guide, you will find step-by-step instructions for what we are talking about in each of these sections. Dimitra, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Helene. So you find that, as Helene has already highlighted there is 4 types of registrations that one must consider. And first and foremost, as a business owner, you need to ask yourself, how do I want my business to be registered? In other words, is my business going to be a for-profit business, or is it going to be a non-profit business? Okay, and if it's going to be a for-profit business, then you have 2 options. You can either be a sole proprietor, or it can be a company. On the other hand, if it's going to be a non-profit, there's also options. You can either be a voluntary, a trust, or a non-profit company. And you will see that for the 2 of them, there is pros and cons. For example, if you are for-profit and you're a sole proprietor, it means that the business is solely owned by the owner, and the owner manages the business and also makes the decisions. But with the non-profit, you find that it is owned by the community. It is owned and managed by the community. And here, Helene, I must emphasize that it is very important for an ECD owner to decide which route or which legal entity their business is going to take, because this will affect how the other registrations are done, as well as how the business is going to be run. So they must make a decision as to whether they want it to be a for-profit or is it a non-profit. And as Helene has already indicated there in the guide, we have looked into these entities in detail. And so you can go there and look. And then secondly, non-profit. So when one wants to register as a non-profit organization and perhaps wants to apply for funding, for example, from DSD, so you find that the ECD owner actually needs to register with DSD as a non-profit organization. And this is in addition to the original or the initial non-profit organization registration that they have done. And you find that they will ask you for information like the details of the organization, the details of the committee members, a constitution. And again, on the app, we have made all these templates available to you for free download.
Thank you. Thank you, Dimitria. I don't need to Google it. I can find it on the app. Thank you very much.
That is true. And then Helene, if we look now at the partial care facility registration, first and foremost, why is it there? This partial care registration ensures that the ECD centers are offering a safe, hygiene, well-managed educational environment for the children. And so they require that if you have more than 6 children who are attending for more than 16 hours in a week, then you must apply for partial care registration. And what usually happens with this registration is that a DBE official would come and assess your center against 15 specific areas. And as Helene has already alluded to, the fact that these areas are there on the app, on the registration checklist, it would be nice to know it'd be good actually for you to know of all of the 15 specific areas that are going to be assessed. We also show you how to calculate, for example, the classroom capacity. And I know that for some of our ECD owners, are not really knowledgeable on how to calculate the capacity. And Helene, if I can just add something here, I think that knowing this information at hand, especially for an ECD owner who's wanting to open up their ECD center and maybe perhaps is busy looking at the premises, this is going to be very beneficial, because now you are able to make an informed decision as to the space of the premises based on what actually is permitted with the number versus the number of children that I have. Okay, then lastly, we have the ECD program registration. So now with this registration, it ensures that children are receiving the right age-appropriate stimulation and development. And so the government is requiring that any person who's offering early learning services must actually apply for ECD program. You see, so again, as I have mentioned earlier, this refers to your toy libraries, your play groups, your ECD centers, your mobile ECDs. All of those actually needs to apply for ECD program registration. And again, what is key to highlight here is with your ECD program registration, you need to make sure that your program is NCF aligned. Now, what does that mean? That means that it needs to cover all of the early learning development areas, or the elders that are covered in the NCF.
Makes a lot of sense to me, because let's face it, we know that the foundational years are crucial. We cannot let the foundation years slip by. So if you are taking care of children, of young children, you need to make sure that you are offering a ECD program that is stimulating them, that is developing them. I think it's very, very, very important. Thank you for going through that. Can you see what I mean when I said I thought there's one registration? There's actually various parts of registration that we need to think of. I saw a few people asking what is the difference or the benefits between non-profit and for-profit. In the guide, the downloadable guide, there is a list that explains the benefits and how it works of each one to help you make a choice. Legally, you can be either one. There's not a you must be this or you must be that. You can choose. We explain it to you in there. Is the early learning program a separate registration? Dina, yes. So partial care, that's why you see a little house there. Partial care facility registration is the facility, it's the place where the learning is happening. And ECD program registration is registering the learning that is happening, the program, the daily program, and how you teach. Someone is asking me, what is the steps to register to download this information? I will repeat that a little bit later. So I want to make sure we get through the next question. People are asking me, and I think, Ernest, you must help me here. They're asking me, which one first? Do I open the center, then get registered? Must I get registered, then open the center? Get the enrollment forms? Which way? How do I do this? We don't want to waste time. We don't want to do this the wrong way around. In the manual, we explain to you exactly how to get registered, the steps to follow. And I want Ernest to take us through those.
Thank you, Helen. I'm going to talk you through the 7 steps that it would take you in order to get your center registered. So previously, I've mentioned in my lines that there was confusion where to start and where to go. But the first step would be decide on your entity structure, whether you want to go for a profit business or you want to go for a non-profit business. So it's a decision that you have to make upfront. And then also the second step would be find premises. Because remember, when you find premises, you must take a lot of things into consideration. Because with premises, there are a lot of things that comes with that, because there's rent that you must commit to. And then you must also know that what is the number of children that those premises can actually accommodate before binding yourself in a contract. Because it means that if you committed to less number of children that the building can accommodate, then you can make those changes later on. The third step would be prepare a business plan. When you're preparing your business plan, you would prepare your business plan based on what are you going to offer? What program are you going to offer? Because you need to choose a program first that you're going to offer. Then it would be the fourth step, prepare to open. How do you prepare to open? Then when you prepare to open, you need to have some marketing out there so that your center gets known. Then the fifth step would be select the educational program. What program do you want to provide in your center? And then the sixth step would be recruit and train your staff members. And then once that is done, then you are ready to register your ECD.
Ernest, you made that sound very simple. I love it. Can I just show you? I want to escape from this, and I want to show you in the guide what you will see when you've downloaded this guide. I will get to the section and show you. The 7 steps that Ernest has just explained to you is in detail in this guide. There's step 1, deciding on your entity structure, for-profit, non-profit, what it means. You can even click to download templates such as your constitution template if you choose to be non-profit. Next, finding premises. I think this is a big one. After I read this, Ernest, I realized that choosing your premises is exceptionally important, because if I choose a premises that's too small, I'll never be able to break even.
Yes.
And I loved how it explains to me how to measure how many learners I can accommodate to meet the bronze, the silver, and the gold standard. And there's a checklist for you in here as well. Preparing your business plan. It has all the questions you need to ask yourself. Links to download your standard operating procedure guidelines, your discipline policy, admissions policies. It explains what should be included in all of your policies. It has some tips, which I'm sure we've paid our school fees learning all those tips. So please learn from us. Selecting your education program. It has lots of information to help you understand what to look for in your daily program, your daily routine. It even has an example of a daily routine and all of the elders. Recruiting your staff. Ernest, I'm sure you have some stories for us about recruiting staff and how important that is. What do you think is the one thing that people forget when they choose to recruit their staff in this process?
I think one of the things that people would forget, the recruitment process at first majority, it would be informal. Someone that I know from church who just requested to do something in my center, then I'm forgetting that there are a lot of things, a lot of steps that I would have looked for in terms of employing that person formally. Because 1, that person needs to have an employment contract. 2, that person needs to know what is their job description within the center. 3, that person also needs to know that the center is governed by certain codes of conduct in the employment place. And then 4, they would know that they need to abide by that. Yeah, then the relationship becomes professional, not personal. Because once the relationship is personal, then it means that it would be very difficult to manage the relationship. So those kind of things that we are picking up on the ground, that most of these relationships are informal. Mm-hmm. And if you go back to the app, then the app will enable you with those documents, the templates of how to get your contract of employment, how to get your job description, all those kind of things.
I see here, there's a principal job description, teacher job description, and an assistant teacher job description. Also, I like this. It explains how many staff you need per how many children. That's so nice and clear. I love that. And then finally, getting your center registered. And for many of you, you asked this question in the chat, where do you go to first? Here is a little flow chart. It'll explain to you which department you're going to, such as planning and building development management, the health department, fire and rescue services, and finally, the Department of Basic Education. So don't arrive at Department of Basic Education if you don't have that fire and rescue services certificate yet. You are going to get very frustrated. At the end of the manual, there's even this checklist where you can see everything that you need depending on what you are registering. I just wanted to show all of you that so you can really understand the value in this practical guide to getting your ECD Centre registered. Ernest and Demetria, we were talking fast. We were not wasting time. I want to tell you also that other questions that you might have are also covered in the frequently asked questions of the guide. Maybe you want to know, can I open my centre if I don't have building plans? Can I open my centre before it is registered? How long will it take? What type of structures get registered? How long is partial care registration valid for? Inside the guide, we answer that for you in detail. Now, what must we do next? Where to from here? Before I tell you all of the detail, I will do this next. Let me explain what to do next. Number one, you want to get these registration support tools. How do you do that? You download the Grow Giraffe app, create an account and log in, and you can download this guide from the Resource Centre. Next, I would suggest that you identify your gaps. And this is where you can use that self-assessment checklist for bronze, silver, and gold, and go through it and assess your own centre. Then you'll see in the report, where are all your gaps? Now you'll know which documents you still want to prepare, which items you still need to fix. If you don't have a fire hydrant, a fire extinguisher, you can go and buy it. If you don't have a security gate, you know that that's what you still need. It'll really help you to prepare yourself. Then once you are confident, you have everything prepared, you are ready, then you will be ready to take your steps to get registered. I'm going to look at the chat now. I will see all your questions. We'll use our last few minutes, 10 minutes left to take questions. Before I do that, I want to ask you a few questions. We want to know how we can help you in future with more webinars like this. So if you look at your phone right now, there should be some questions for you. We want to know what time will suit you best for webinars in the future. And what topics would you like us to present to you? So you should be on your phone able to see the poll right now. And you can just tap there to answer the questions. This is very helpful because it'll help us to make sure we are setting our webinars at a time that's convenient for you, and we are talking to you about topics that are important to you. Thank you. I can see a lot of replies coming through. For some people, it's better to do this during lunchtime. Others say 3 o'clock. I see people are interested in fundraising tips. Yes, I'm excited for that webinar. Fundraising, marketing tips, partial care registration, an overview of our program. You want to know how technology can help you run your centre. That's amazing. I'm going to give it a few more seconds and then I will close this poll so that we can get to the Q&A section. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your feedback. All right. So if you have any questions that relate to the app, you can't log in, you forgot your password, you're not sure where to find the item you're looking for in the app, we have an app support help desk. Our friendly Lina Mandla is there waiting for your WhatsApp or your call or your email. The help desk is available during office hours. You can WhatsApp, call, or email. And this is specifically if you have questions about the app and using the app and registering on the app. If you have other questions, like you have questions about how our quality education program works, how our training works, how you can be involved with GROW, send an email to info@growecd.org.za. I'm going to close the poll now and show you the results. So it's very interesting. Most of you said that the 3 to 4 o'clock time slot suits you best. I guess that's also why you are here. And the types of questions you would like us to address in future is fundraising tips and ideas, marketing your center, the differences between registration. Okay, great. We will look at that and we will make sure we address our next topics. Demetria and Ernest, let's see what other questions there are that we can answer while we have you here. Must you re-register if your present registration was awarded by the Department of Social Development in Limpopo? Will basic education take over the registration? I wonder if one of you have an answer on that. This person registered previously with this Department of Social Development. Is Department of Basic Education going to take over registration? Demetria, maybe you can answer that for us.
Well, they are already registered. They don't need to re-register. Normally, registration takes 5 years for them to renew the registration. So the mandate has been passed on to DOE, but those centers that are registered, that were previously registered with DSD, do still remain registered.
Until it expires.
So she shouldn't, yes, until it expires after 5 years.
Excellent. Chandra, thank you for saying you need to have a proper zoning certificate. Oh my goodness, the stories we can tell about zoning certificates. Let me see, are there any job descriptions for admin staff? Helen, you're asking me a question that you've caught me out. I don't know the answer to if we have job descriptions for admin staff.
Currently we have the cook, the teacher, then we also have the principal job description, and then the teacher assistant job description.
Okay, so that's plenty. Thank you very much. I want to see a few, there's a lot of content in the chat, so I'm just going through that to see. All right, for those of you who still want to know where you can get the information from this booklet, it's available for free download on the Grow Giraffe app. We are definitely sharing all of this notes and the recording. Hazel, thank you. Thank you so much for your message. Tracy, thank you for confirming that the guide does explain what a PBO is. So if you get funding from companies or private individuals, they usually require a PBO, a Section 18A certificate. Thank you very much, everyone. If you need to go, I know you are busy, you have busy lives, you're welcome to go. We will stay on the line a little bit longer to see if there are other questions that we can answer. Lauren is saying, if we are considering opening a center for special needs, we follow the same steps outlined in the guide, or are there additional requirements for those with special needs? It's a very interesting question, Lauren. I did not come across any additional content for special needs. Ernest or Demetria, have you seen any? Not that I'm aware of.
But then what I can think on top of my head as well is that with centers that are keeping children that are not challenged in any way, if there is one that needs to attend that center, then they need to have that inclusivity policy so that they know exactly how to include that children to the mainstream.
I want to mention there was a very interesting question. I can't find it now. It was a question about private ECDs and accessing finance. So GROW does offer ECD finance, which we only offer to ECD centers, whether you are private or non-profit. At this stage, it is specifically to help you invest in a quality education program. So when remember when Demetria was explaining ECD program and all the requirements that you need to register your ECD program, the GROW curriculum is already approved by DBE. So if you invest in GROW's quality education program, you receive that curriculum, the training for your teachers, and the equipment to implement it in your classrooms. Then ECD program registration, that third one, sorry, the fourth one, should be much easier, because we can already provide you with the implementation plan, which is what a DBE will need when you submit ECD program registration. All right. Lots of great messages from everybody. I really appreciate it. Let me see if there are any final questions. Lots of thank yous. I appreciate that. Is there a disability? There is a disability and inclusivity policy in the resources. Yes, that is correct. Thank you, everyone. All right. And I think we're going to stop there because most of the other questions are answered in the guide. We will send you the content as soon as we can by tomorrow, 4 o'clock. So if you registered for this webinar and you received the reminder email, you can know you will definitely get the notes and also the recording. Demetria, Ernest, you were stars. Thank you very much for sharing all of your knowledge. There is so much.
Thank you, Eliane.
And thanks
Thank you.
everyone.
We'll see you at the next webinar. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.